With the past two episodes of The Flash being the best of the season, and in the case of last week's episode, one of the best of the show, episode 11 not only had a lot to live up to, but definitely did have a lot of anticipation because of what we left off with from the end of this episode. However, in the same time, despite this anticipation and how excited we were just for this final graphic novel, we knew going into this episode that this was going to be an episode without Barry for the most part. But was this episode able to keep this streak going of good episodes? Now, in my opinion, The Flash Season 9 Episode 11, titled A New World Part 2, it was a weird one. The majority of this episode I really did not care for at all, and that is not because of like the storyline, the writing or anything like that, because this episode, it was actually really well written. The tone was absolutely incredible. It had some horror elements in it which I really liked, and the choice of music was absolutely incredible once again. Just like last week's episode and the episode before, the music just really stands out with these final few episodes, and you can tell from the tone in general, it's just getting more serious, and that is what I do like in these episodes of The Flash. But it's just the characters who are involved in this episode I really don't care for. This is an episode without our main character, Barry, and although yes, they did have a valid excuse to not use Barry because we were seeing what Barry was doing while he was away with episode 10, so it only made sense that we see what Team Flash does while Barry was away. However, I thought that it would have been a better option to just bring Barry back from the moment he left, and you could have easily used Barry in this episode in some way. So that would probably be my main complaint of this episode. Like, it wasn't necessary for you to give Khione another highlight once again, and they've done it so much so that literally she looks like she's the most important character of this storyline, and I'm really not a fan of that because this is the final season. We're in the final few episodes of this show, and they really need to start highlighting Barry as like the main guy. And in this episode, Khione was levels above anyone, and it does seem like she's going to be a very important character for the final few episodes as well, and that is just something that does quite bother me. But also, the things I liked about this episode, I really liked. As I said, it was quite well written, the music was good, but also the flash forwards, shall we say, with Eddie Thawne, they were really interesting and had some really good mystery, which I really did like. And for me, this by far carried this episode because it kept me so intrigued and just so gripped. Whereas for like the other bits, especially with the side characters, I just really didn't care all that much. But in terms of like what they tried to do in this episode with we get to see what Team Flash has been doing while Barry was away. I guess what they did made sense, but as I said earlier on, they didn't really have to do it. They could have just dropped Barry off at the moment that he left. He didn't really have to come in like 7 hours, 8 hours after he disappeared. That didn't really need to happen, but I guess it is what it is. But yeah, this is of course my review and breakdown for season 9 episode 11, titled A New World Part 2. So the episode kicks off with, once again, Eddie Thawne walking around CCPD, and right off the bat we do see like officers being confused, and they're noticing that this person is someone who they're familiar with. Now obviously the others, they just assume that he looks exactly like Eddie Thawne because he's in the future. They wouldn't really know who Eddie is, but of course someone like Korber, for example, Captain Korber, who I guess is now head of CCPD, she is obviously the one that's like, right, we need to talk, because she notices Eddie right off the bat, and obviously Eddie is confused about the case file in the first place. But we find out that Barry has been missing for 6 hours and 52 minutes. And as I said, this takes place at the exact same time while Barry is away. So Barry has vanished, he's gone, and Team Flash are just searching for Barry. Chester mentions that there are traces of cobalt, and this of course gives them the impression that Barry has been taken. He did not just randomly disappear. We did have Chillblaine back in this episode as well, which I guess it's what it is. I don't really care. But yeah, all of them assembled together, and Team Flash are now looking for Barry. Now, we do have a CCC media scene, and this scene, it was pretty nice, I guess. Allegra and Iris having a chat, and this is when Iris comes across her Barry Vanishes in Crisis article, and she talks about how the original Nora had to grow up without Barry, and she's scared that, this could be what's going to end up happening if Barry doesn't come, so that's obviously stressing her out, and Allegra pretty much offers to be there for Iris, and then she pretty much heads out, and then she just gets blasted. We don't see who it is, but of course later on in the episode we do find out that Chillblaine has been possessed by the crystal, or the negative speed force, or the negative forces in general, whatever it is. But Khione and Chillblaine then come in for the rescue, and yeah, we get to see more of Khione's powers, and once, as I said, she had a lot of emphasis in this episode, and we do find out that she is such an important character. She is the life force, and like we get to see all sorts of her abilities, such as this one, for example, where she's able to grow plant cells to help, the two characters breathe. But then those two characters, of course, they end up being afraid because they turn green and, they just feel weird. So, Khione is having those sorts of struggles, and she doubts herself until, of course, she wins the day by the end after a pep talk from the Speed Force. But yeah, we're in the med bay, and Gideon pretty much talks about how Allegra's in like radiation syndrome, and she got attacked with cobalt. So Team Flash are like, okay, she got attacked by cobalt too, so okay, someone's pretty much looking after us, someone's trying to attack us. We do see someone is spying on the team, and everyone is pretty much a target. We do find out that Chillblaine is the one who's possessed. He talks about Khione changing, and pretty much just breaks her heart. He says that her powers are just torturing people, and what she's doing isn't right. Completely just breaks Khione's heart, and right off the bat we do see like Chillblaine's eyes flashing, so we know he's in control. Well, he's not in control, the negative forces are in control. But yeah, we're in 2049, and then Corber says you look exactly like Eddie Thawne, whereas his name is of course Dr. Malcolm Gilmore. So it will be interesting to see how he ended up at this point after the singularity from season 1. I'm pretty sure we're gonna find out in next week's episode. But yeah, the ID is messing around and just pops up Dr. Malcolm Gilmore. Eddie pretty much talks about how he found this case file, and he wants to know more about Eddie. And Corber is pretty much offering to help Eddie because they used to work together before. But this is until Eddie starts hearing voices in his head. I'm pretty sure, once again, it's the negative forces doing all of this, or the negative speed force, shall I say. And it says find her or find them, something like that. And of course, this is when Eddie gets a small flashback. And these flashbacks with Eddie slowly unlocking his memories, I found really, really cool. Once again, has really good mystery and just kept me very, very intrigued in this episode. Now, we do have a Cecile and Iris pep talk, where Iris pretty much talks about how her dreams are pretty much crushed. She does say something like, every time something good happens, something bad happens, it just keeps happening, and just, it crushes her dreams. Now, these are the types of scenes where Cecile works with pep talks. With these pep talk scenes, Cecile works, but anytime it involves using her abilities, those are certain scenes that I don't like with her character. So with these sorts of scenes, I don't really have a complaint about them because Cecile's good with these sorts of scenes. But yeah, we then have Chester being watched, and we have Chillbot Blue. I'm going to call him Chillbot Blue because it's not Chillblaine, but he is now after Chester. He pretty much tricks Chester into saying that Khione just left because she felt upset, she felt like a monster, things like that, and Chester pretty much just falls for it. And this is when Chillbot Blue pretty much disengages the scanning of the cobalt energy or radiation. But we have Eddie walking around in Central City 2049, and he keeps hearing voices from the Blue Rose saying find her, find her, find her. And this is when we have Eddie continuing to have more flashbacks with Iris and just going crazy. But now he realizes that he needs to find Iris West. But next up, we do have Chillbot Blue attacking Cecile. So Cecile is knocked out, leaving Iris and the negative speed force alone. So Iris notices that this is the negative speed force doing this, and it's the negative speed force that's trying to tear her family apart. And then we have Speed Force Nora showing up and pretty much throws lightning and temporarily defeats the negative speed force controlling Chillblaine. But yeah, Speed Force Nora talks about how the negative forces are hurting Barry and hurting her as well, so her powers are quite limited, and that she cannot find Barry because Barry has pretty much vanished, and of course he's in the year of 2000 while this is happening. That doesn't make too much sense that she's not able to sense Barry, because Barry is literally using the Speed Force when he's fighting Thawne, so that didn't really make too much sense. And like, I wasn't really a fan of the explanation they used. But yeah, Speed Force Nora is her, and she does mention that Mark is not the negative Speed Force avatar, it's just they're using Mark's body as a vessel. We then head to the future once again, where Eddie is at CCC Media looking at files until the employee Taylor, I believe her name is, she pretty much confronts Eddie saying, "You're trespassing, what are you doing here?" Whereas Eddie, he's just trying to look for answers, but while he's doing that, he just continues to get more and more memories. And as I said, the mystery and like the way they maintained this mystery all the way throughout the episode, it really just got my attention span, and I really liked it, because the present day stuff, as I said, I really didn't care all that much about. I was just there for the Eddie stuff, and it did a good job with that. But yeah, we then have Iris at the time while recording a message to Barry, and while she's doing that, we do cut back to Barry, where this is where Barry is fighting now Cobalt Blue, and we had that like lightning explosion scene. So those two are taking place at the exact same time. I'm pretty sure that was the explanation for us having that Barry scene, or it could have been that Barry hears Iris recording the message, but that wouldn't really make too much sense. But yeah, we then have the Speed Force and Khione having a talk, and then the Speed Force pretty much pep talks Khione. Khione doubts herself. Well, she finds out that she's the Life Force, and yeah, she just embraces her powers. And then we have the Cobalt Blue and Khione confrontation, which she just does a Thanos and pretty much defeats the Speed Force like that. And I'm like, huh? Like, I understand she's the Life Force, but to put such a powerful character like that in Team Flash just doesn't really make too much sense for me. And as I said, in the next 2 episodes, it does look like she's going to be having a really, really big role. And a character like that put above our main character is something I'm not going to be a fan of. But yeah, we find out that Iris is in labor, and this is when we have everyone in the cortex, where Barry then ends up appearing. So he comes back from wherever he's vanished, and that is of course from the year of 2000, after he's let Reverse Flash kill his mother, and he had that talk with Eobard Thawne. Barry arrives, and pretty much he runs Iris to the hospital, because yeah, Iris is about to give birth. And I just want to mention, like, that shot with Barry, like, appearing, that suit looked really, really cool in that lighting. I'm just going to say that. But also the music they used when Barry appeared, that was something I did really, really like as well. But yeah, Iris is in the hospital. Barry is back. Iris is happy. And Barry just talks about how he's finally made peace with that night that tortured him for many, many years now. And that just gives you a sense that in reality, although Barry lost his mother and everything like that happened, so like the chain of events played out exactly how it was supposed to be, realistically, Barry still won in that situation. But yeah, pretty much we have Barry reassuring Iris that he's here and he's not going anywhere. Meanwhile, of course, Team Flash talk about how this crystal is traveling through time. And while that is happening, we have a Chillblaine and Khione scene once again. I don't really care too much. But then we have Barry vanishing again. And now Barry's going to end up in 2049, where he's of course going to see Nora. And of course he's going to interact with Eddie Thawne in next week's episode as well. So that is something I'm really looking forward to. But yeah, the episode ends with Eddie digging a grave, and Corber's pretty much telling Eddie to stop because what he's doing is illegal. But yeah, Eddie continues to dig, and yeah, he continues to get more memories, especially when Corber says all coincidence or something like that. She mentions the word coincidence, and then this is when Eddie Thawne remembers something that he said before related to coincidence, and then Eddie pretty much unlocks all of his memories, and he's like, I am Eddie Thawne. So he's back, and he pulls out the bullet and shows it to Corber, showing that this character is actually Eddie Thawne. So that is a really, really cool ending. I'm very, very intrigued and excited to see what happens next. And I am really, really looking forward to just find out more about this. Like, how did he end up over here? What's up with Malcolm Gilmore? And how did he lose all of his memories? I'm interested to find out all of that. But overall, as I said, I don't really know how to feel about this episode, to be completely honest, because they could have completely took this episode in another direction, which I would have been more of a fan with. But also with what they tried doing, it did make sense as well. So I don't really know. But also, nothing really made me care that much, other than the Eddie Thawne stuff. However, it was still a very well written episode. As I said, the tone was amazing, the music was amazing. Just because of that, I don't really know how to feel about this episode. I did still like it, but I don't know, it just feels weird. That's why I'm not really gonna give a number out of 10, but I'm just gonna say that I thought this episode was pretty good. But yeah, guys, thanks for watching. If you guys have enjoyed the video, please give a like and subscribe. Be sure to let me know in the comment section down below what you guys thought about this episode. I'm interested to see all of your thoughts towards all of it as well. And yeah, I will see you guys in my next video.